It's me, it's Queen Osset Heru, and thank you for joining me for another wonderful edition of Ask an Aquarius. If you haven't already, please hit the red subscribe button and smack the bell. So I had somebody ask me to talk about readings, and it was a very interesting question. She said that she was afraid to get a reading because she was scared that it would say she was going to die, or something awful was going to happen to her. And she asked me, is that something that I've seen commonly? Now, one of the things about reading is everybody reads a little bit differently. And how they get it, how they interpret it, all that kind of stuff is not the same for all of us. But for me personally, when I do somebody's reading, I rarely see that they're going to die or something along those lines. Because one of the things another woman said to me, she said that her mom used to always go get tarot readings. And she said that she stopped going because her stepfather died. And her mother was angry that the tarot reader did not tell her he was going to die. So the girl asked me, why did the reader not tell her that he was going to die? And I was like, she probably didn't see it. It probably wasn't in the cards. The cards are very specific about what they tell you. They're not going to tell you that you're going to die or somebody close to you is going to die if there's nothing you can do about it. That's sadistic, and the cards are not sadistic. They're generally, depending upon who's reading them, they're generally helpful, healing, that kind of thing. They show you what's going wrong and how to fix it. So if somebody's going to die, unless there's something you can do about it, the cards are generally not going to show that. Why? For what? Like, for what? If he's going to die and there's something he can do about it, then the cards, it may come up. But remember, our soul contract, and I told you guys about soul contracts. That's the contract that you make if you believe in reincarnation. You believe that, some of you believe, some of them don't, that there is a soul contract. The soul contract says when you're going to be born, when you're going to die, and what lessons you're going to learn along the way. So the fact that we're going to die is a given. We all know that. There is an expiration date on all of us. We already know that. We just don't know when it is. And yes, the cards know. Yes, spirits know. Yeah, they know that information. But it's not something that they're going to tell you in a reading if it's not something that can be helpful. You knowing that you're going to die tomorrow, but that's your soul contract is up and there's nothing you can do, is not beneficial. Now, if you're doing something that's killing you, that you can stop doing, that will prolong your life, then that is something you're going to see in the cards. I'll give you a perfect example. When I first started reading, obviously I didn't know what the hell I was doing. So I said to my friend, if you let me guinea pig on you, I'll do all your readings for free until I'm a professional. That was our little agreement. So she would come over and I would read her and I would practice on her. In one of the readings, after I had gotten really good, one of the readings said that she was going to die. It told me flat out. And I looked underneath it and it told me why. Because she wasn't taking care of herself. She was pregnant and she wasn't eating right. She wasn't doing any of the things she needed to be doing because she was stressing out because her life was falling apart at the same time that she was pregnant. And as a woman, if you've ever been pregnant before, can you imagine your life falling apart at the same time that you're pregnant? Your relationship, your job, everything's in turmoil, and then you find out you're pregnant. Shit. A baby that you truly want, but this is like a crazy time. So she was stressing so bad, she wasn't eating well, and the doctor had told her that she was in bad health and she wasn't going to make it if she didn't start taking better care of herself. Now, I didn't know this. We hadn't discussed it. She just came over and I was like, oh, let me practice my cards, And I saw this in the cars before we even had a chance to talk. And it was like, yeah, she's dying. And I'm like, I was shocked. And I didn't want to say it because I was just learning. So I didn't know if I was right or if I was reading the cards wrong. I'm like, she can't be dying. She a young girl, you know? And I'm like, but that's what it says. I kept looking at the book, looking back at the cards, and at the time I was still using the book. And I'm looking at the book, looking at the card, I'm like, that's what it say. If you got this card, and this card, it means this. And I'm like, maybe I'm reading this wrong. You know, and I'm looking back and forth. So finally, I didn't want to say anything. I was shook, and she was like, what is it? What are you seeing? And I'm like, it says you're going to die. I just blurted it out because I didn't, like, I felt the energy pushing me to say it, but I didn't know how to say it. So I just blurted it out, which is very Aquarius. Very Aquarius. When we don't know how to say something, sometimes we just blurt it out. And she was like, I know. And I was like, you know? Like, that was not the response I was expecting, you know? And she was like, the doctor just told me that if I don't start eating and drinking more and taking better care of myself and getting more rest and having less stress, that I'm not going to make it through this pregnancy. And I was just sitting there flabbergasted. So in a case like that, there was something she could do. It wasn't time for her to expire. She could have more time, you know? I think that, I think we have a soul contract and it's a time that we're supposed to leave. But I think that if our actions are detrimental to our body, our physical body, we could end up leaving sooner. Because remember, all of this is based upon the fact that you're supposed to take care of this body as best you can. So I think that if you do certain things too, is such as starving it, or things like that, you can destroy it before it's even time for your soul contract to be up. So in her case, I believe that's what was going on. And the cards were warning her because it was something she could do to change it. Now, mind you, she did. And she's alive today. And this was like 15 years ago. So she's fine. But the point of the matter was that if she told me that when the doctor told her, she heard him, but she kind of blew it off. But for me to see it and not know what was going on in a totally unrelated way is what really gave her the impression that this was serious. This was nothing to play with. So she got herself together. Even though life was falling apart, she got herself together and she made it happen. And she's fine today. So the point of the matter is that the cards are not sadistic. They're not going to tell you something that you can't do anything about. So if her mom's husband was going to die that day and there was nothing they could do to change it because it was just time for his expiration date, then they're not going to tell you, oh, your husband going to die tomorrow. A lot of people who've never had a reading before, or some people who have, obviously, had plenty of readings before, don't really understand readings. And they don't ask questions like this. They just expect the cards to say anything and everything. And that's not how the cards work. The cards tell you what's going on right now, sometimes from the past, sometimes the present, and a lot of the future. And what's going on and what you can do to change it or to make it better or to deal with it, depending upon the questions that you ask the cards. But typically, like I said, they don't just blurt out random, unimportant information. They don't do that. And they don't blurt out things that are going to scare the shit out of you that you can't do anything about. So I think that some people don't quite understand what the reading is. And then also remember, a lot of people get their knowledge about readings from television, not from people who actually study tarot, which is where you should get it from. People who study the cards, people who study oracle cards, people who are into divination. Those are the kind of people you ask those questions. Watching something from Tales from the Crypt, is not going to tell you, or Tales from the Dark Side or something along, or Black Mirror or sci-fi is not going to tell you how cards really work, because in general those scripts are written by people who don't know how cards really work. Nowadays I have noticed from certain shows they've gotten better. They are doing some research about spirituality if they're going to use it in a particular skit or in a particular scene. But remember that a lot of these people don't have a lot of knowledge about this. So if you want to get answers to those types of questions, you need to talk to people who really do work with spirituality and that kind of thing, and not just people who write fiction about it. Okay? Two big different things, all right? I have seen some of the worst misinformation in movies and on TV that you would not believe. So ask first before you assume what's going to come out in your reading. Okay? All right, guys, it's time for me to get going. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you know somebody that's wondering about this, please pass this video on to them and tell them I said get some factual information. Don't believe that fiction. All right, guys, it's time for me to get going. If you would like to get a tarot reading, please email me for an appointment. If you would like to send me a love donation, I'll leave my PayPal. If you would like to become one of my patrons on Patreon, the information will be underneath here. Please check it out. If you would like to send me a gift, I will leave my Amazon wish list. And as always, please come back soon because I have a lot more to say. See you later.